Hello again, welcome back to another video. Due to overwhelming demand, I've decided to go with a woodworking project this time. Today, or on this video, I'll be working on an old table I built back in around 2010, I think it was, from timber left over from a carport that I demolished off the first house I renovated. I'll put a picture of it somewhere along here in the screen somewhere, just to show you what it looked like. I did pull it apart in Ballarat and started working on it, but I had issues with my thicknesser. I did do a video about that, getting the blade sharpened, things like that. I've got the thicknesser all set up. Here it is here. I've got a couple of roller supports either side because the planks are quite long, and the planks just fit within the limits of the thicknesser, so they're pretty big. There's the frame there. I'll also pull that apart, run that through the thicknesser just to clean it up a little bit. It's been the timber was rough sawn. I'm not going to show the milling of, or the planing of these boards, because it's just, all I'm doing is running it through the thicknesser. It just goes in one end, comes out the other, a little bit cleaner. As I said, because these boards are so big, I can only go down in very small increments, so it actually takes me quite a while to plane these boards down. I might show a little bit of it, but for the most part I'm not going to bore you with it because it bores the hell out of me doing it, but it's got to be done if I want it all nice and clean and flat. So maybe towards the end I'll film a couple of passes and that'll be about it. Alrighty, finished most of the milling of the timber. Here it is here. The boards for the tabletop, 4 legs, and the frame. They're roughly the same size. Legs are roughly the same size. Boards, thickness wise, they're roughly the same size. Length, the same size, but width are a little bit different due to just having to plane down the edges of the board. So now the next step is start putting the table together. I'll start with the tabletop, obviously. Need to do a bit of metal work to bolt the legs in, because I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently than what it was originally had. So there'll be a bit of metal working I've got to do as well. But next step, yeah, I'll start putting it together. Okay, I've put the bulk of the tabletop together, screwed the frame onto the boards. Here's the table brackets I've made for the legs, pre-drilled all the holes, marked all the bending lines, and I've just made up a pretty rough and ready press die just to bend up these. I hope it's strong enough. I'll put it in the hydraulic press and see how we go. Here we are with the brackets in my hydraulic press in the die. I'll see how it goes. Sorry about the lighting, but it's a bit dark in here, so I have to use a torch. Well, it seems to be bending it well enough. I'll turn the camera off and so I can use two hands and finish off the rest. Here we are with the 4 leg brackets and the 4 legs. They will be mounted, the legs will be mounted to the brackets with these bolts. All I've got to do is run a chamfer along the top of each leg so I can bolt it on. Well, here's the table with the legs fitted. I've started doing a finish, it's a Japanese finish, basically just getting a torch and scorching the timber. I think they used to use it a long time ago just to preserve timber, but it also brings out the grain quite well. I've finished scorching the underneath of the table. The light in the garage isn't very good, so you don't get a really good view of what the timber actually looks like. Here's the table upright. I've got to do some levelling of the tabletop. As you can see, there's a slight height difference between this board and that board. A bit of a difference on this one and a little bit of a difference on that one. Righto, I've tried levelling out the boards as best as I could. I've got them pretty close, so it's a nice flat tabletop now. I've sanded it down as well with a belt sander using 40 grit on the belt sander, then 80 grit on a orbital sander, then 180 grit on the orbital sander. It's actually come out pretty smooth. Next step is rounding off the edges of the table. I'm using a small rounding off bit on my hand router, and that should give a rather nice small edge on the table, very similar to that. So let's get into rounding off the edge of the table. There we have it. The edge of the table's done. Pretty quick, a lot quicker than I thought, and it's actually come out quite good. Now it's time to give the tabletop a clean off and then start scorching. Righto, since I've sanded down the table, done the edges, now I'm up to the scorching of the tabletop. I'm just using a basic hand torch from Bunnings, not advertising the brand, just showing you what I'm going to be using. It does take a little bit longer because it's only a small flame, but hopefully still get a good effect out of it. Well, there we have it. The top of the table is scorched. It's pretty uneven, but that's okay. Gives it that rustic look, I suppose. overall I think it's turned out pretty well. Next step is to varnish it. I'm up to varnishing the table. I've already started on the legs, given them one coat of varnish, and I'm about to do the table. But before I start varnishing the table, I've got to fill in little holes like that, usually in the knots. There's a couple of screw holes there that I've got to fill in as well, just so I don't have to use the varnish to try and fill in the holes. I'm going to be using some epoxy resin, just a little bit of that in each hole just to level it off to pretty much the surface, and so when I varnish it, it'll be you'll still see the holes, but it'll be nice and clear, filled with the resin, and a coat of varnish over the top. Here's the table finished. I've put 3 coats of varnish with a roller on, and the last 2 coats with the spray gun. It's come out pretty nice. The legs, I've also given a couple of coats of varnish as well. I haven't put the legs back on the table yet because I will be delivering the table to its new house tomorrow, so to fit it in the trailer and save it from getting damaged, I'm going to wrap it up with moving blankets and a tarp as well, because I think it might rain tomorrow, and yeah, just to protect it. So it's off to its new home tomorrow, and I will be clearing away this spot in the shed so I can start my next project. That's about it from me for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.